everybody, Shawn here. Welcome to my studio. I've got not one but two pedals to demo for you today. They're both made by Rockett pedals, and the first one I'm going to show you is part of the Q series, and this one's called the IQ Compressor. There it is there. It's a really nice compressor. It's got a 6-band EQ on it that is pre-compressor, which is really great. So if you've got certain frequencies within that 6-band EQ that you want to compress, you can do so. But I also found that it's great because if you want to bump frequencies, especially in the top end, to create like a chimey clean sound, you could also create some transients that might be a bit undesirable. And the compressor, because it is post, the EQ will kind of help take those transients out, so it works really great. The controls are simple. The top left control is the volume control, and that controls the output of the box. The top right control is the mix control, so you're actually blending in the amount of compression you want. Now keep in mind, as you blend in that compression, it will kind of increase the volume of the box, but that's easily compensated with the volume potentiometer on the left. Now the 6-band EQ is as follows. On the left side of the pedal, it starts with the lowest EQ, which is 100 Hertz, and then it jumps to 200 Hertz, and then it jumps to 400 Hertz, 800 Hertz, and then on your top end you've got 1.6K and 3.2K. So it's a very musical EQ that works really well. It's true bypass, and of course the input and output jacks are on the top of the box, which is very pedal friendly. Really good sounding box. The next one in the line will be part of the Tour series, and now this pedal is actually called the Majestic, and it's an overdrive pedal. Really great sounding, what I would consider a low to medium gain, kind of awesome 70s riff box. I was really impressed with it. It sounds great. The controls on this are, it's got 4 potentiometers. Top left is volume, top right is gain, which obviously is the amount of gain or overdrive the pedal creates. Volume is output. Bottom left is treble, and the bottom right is bass. And the treble and bass circuit, both those circuits sound really musical. This one has same thing. It's true bypass, and once again the input and output jacks are at the top of the box there, which is really cool. Now the way it worked with the video, if you watch the performance, the first thing you hear are these big kind of like rakes, and it's 2 guitars. I used my Duesenberg on one side, the humbucker, and then I used my LSL Strat on the other side, the single coil, both bridge position. And that's solely the IQ comp into the Sir Bella Reverb, really clean. And I did use the EQ on the Strat side to kind of fatten up the low end, and I used the EQ on the Duesenberg side to kind of give a little bit more chime to the humbucker, and it worked really well. And if you listen to the track, you'll hear those kind of brangs and changs all the way through the track, and it really worked well. Now the opening riff was the Majestic by itself with nothing hitting it but a guitar. On the left side of the mix, it's my PRS Dave Grissom. On the right side of the mix, I used my Sir Classic Telecaster. And it worked killer for all the rhythm tones. Now any solo sound you hear is where the IQ comp comes back in. I used it at the front end of this pedal, and it just sounded killer as a color box and compressor. And the thing I really loved about it too is it really kind of gave a cool kind of tube amp sag or feel to my tone, and it was really impressive. So all the solo tones are this guy added to the Majestic, and the EQ is tweaked accordingly. Either I'm adding highs, I might be adding lows, like if there's a spot where I use my LSL back position, I added some lows to that solo sound. There's certain ones where I ran a lot more output from the compressor into the Majestic to create more gain. But that was the whole idea of bringing the Majestic in to the mix, was to let you hear how well the two pedals interact together. And of course, the Majestic is the next Overdrive that's going to be coming out, and I was very impressed with it. So yeah, I hope you enjoy the video, and yeah, let's get to checking both these guys out. Okay guys, let's dig into both these pedals. I'm going to use my PRS Dave Grissom model into the Sir Bella guitar amp. Here is just the clean sound. Now bear in mind, these pickups are pretty hot on this guitar, so especially back position bridge, it's pretty easy to break up an amp no matter how clean I try to dial it. So let's start with the IQ compressor. So problem solved. So I really dug this box when I checked it out, and I'll kind of just show you the way I started with it. Kind of what I did was kind of more, you know, what the average dude would do with a compressor is try kind of the funk stuff. And I thought that was a great sound with like this guitar with you know, both, you know, center position, both humbuckers split. I thought that was a great sound, but with the EQ now, if we start engaging that because it was flat, we can kind of make it sound even bigger, but still natural. So you can see it just kind of, you can make it sound really big, and that's what I loved about this is it's not just a compressor, it's like a really great color box. And I found there were ways to make it sound more compressed using the EQ as opposed to turning up the gain or the mix or vice versa down. Like even if we just stayed on like the wide open back humbucker thing I was doing. We can make that even more compressed by actually just dialing out a little bit of low and a little bit of that upper mid. So even for a back humbucker, you could do the same riffs. So it's just really versatile, you know, because even with that, if I just wanted to chime it up a little bit, kind of where it was sitting with the lows, those mid kind of lows dropped a little bit and the high mids dropped a little, I could still chime it up a bit with the 6K on the top. And then of course, you know, real quick, I'll just show you how compressed we can get with it. It's very Dynacomp to me in nature. Let me put these back to flat. So we can go from basically, that's no compression, a little more compression, to ridiculously squished. Now it does allow you to internally adjust the attack via a little tiny potentiometer that's in there. I didn't touch it. I left it alone. I thought it felt great. So that's kind of the basics of that guy, and it's a really great, super versatile compressor. And like I said, it's not just a compressor. It's a really great color box, which brings me to the Majestic, which is a fabulous kind of 70s lower gain overdrive. I wouldn't say low gain, well, maybe kind of mid gain overdrive, and it really struck me as kind of a 70s crunch box, and I was going to keep this one a little more ancillary, as it was really a demo of the IQ compressor, but this box sounded so good I thought, man, let's just bring the two in together. So I'll let you hear the Majestic. It sounds great, and then I'll let you hear how well the IQ compressor runs into the Majestic. So amp tone, Majestic. And the second I plugged into it, I just instantly went into just wanting to do the. So I've got it dialed fairly mild on the overdrive. You can back it off even more. But I just loved how great it was as like a 70s riff box. And I actually found that my favorite setting on the guy was really just to keep it dimed in the gain. It just feels great like that. And, you know, let me show you real quick how the EQ works. Back the gain back down. So here's the treb. I'll shut it off. And then here's the bass. I'll shut the bass off. Now that bass control actually create quite a bit of overdrive if you do happen to dime it. The one thing I found with this box, and it's like that with a lot of the boxes that have like a treb and bass control, is if it's not tight enough, especially on your high gain thing, it sounds kind of tubby. You're going to want to instantly reach for the gain and maybe turn it down to try to tighten it up. But I've found 9 times out of 10, roll that low end off. God, I'm playing terrible. But that gives you a really great idea of how this box sounds. Now, the one thing I really dug was using the IQ comp into it. And the first thing I noticed, I'll just leave the gain up, leave the pedal where it is that it really kind of, when I turned it on, it ended up kind of feeling like that power amp, that tube amp sag that you would get out of like an old like vintage Marshall, or even some amp that's been like variac or backed off. So that backed off the volume just a little bit, but you can bump it back up. Now, the one thing you notice is it does create a little bit of noise floor, and it really, that's going to happen anytime you use like a Dynacomp style compressor into any sort of overdrive. It's going to give you a little bit of that hiss, But it doesn't bother me. I mean, I'd rather have that and the tone I want than absolutely quiet while I'm not playing in a tone I don't want. So, if that makes any sense. So what I notice is for like solo sounds, now I can start kind of gunning the EQ a little bit to get certain voicings. So I can shut this off. You can add even more low end if you want it to kind of be more of that 4x12 thump. So it just really was a fabulous, just once again, color box, and it really felt great into the front end of this Majestic. And I have a feeling it would feel great to the front end of anything. But really, like I said, that first thing I noticed was just how it really felt like kind of that, like I said, that tube amp sag. It's kind of, I don't know if you hear it as much as I'm feeling it, but it's just really kind of that gratifying amp tone. So there you have it. There's the two pedals, the IQ compressor and the Majestic Overdrive, both killer pedals. I believe the IQ is going to come out first, and then the Majestic will follow shortly. If you've got any questions, reach out to the kids over at Rockett Pedals and ask away. And as always, thanks so much for watching my videos, and there'll be more to come. Thanks, guys.